To this third installment of A Way a Day, where we connect the creatures that we find in our everyday life to the Creator. And it's something that I don't think happens enough in our life. And, I was struck by a news story that was big about 2 weeks ago, where Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, was taking a spaceship into space, and he was taking civilians with him. And this is becoming like a big new industry, and I guess Richard Branson over in England did the same thing. And in reading some news reports about these travels into space, I read a couple of things that kind of seemed to indicate that, we kind of got this Earth all kind of figured out, and maybe it's time to move on to something else and explore outer space or other planets, or almost kind of like a boredom has set in. And I thought, well, yeah, maybe from a scientific standpoint, we have learned a lot and we've studied a lot and we've probably identified most of the creatures in this world. But I think we're lacking the wisdom of kind of putting it all together, okay? Seeing it through God's lens of how his providence is evident in the world. And that's the whole purpose of this feature on this YouTube page. And also I have a Facebook group that I have as well, which is called A Way a Day, where you can actually contribute your creatures and the things that you find during the day and connect the creature that you experience to God. And so I put these YouTube videos up to kind of show you my last week and the creatures that I found in my everyday life and how I connected to God. So I invite you to go over to Facebook and do it yourself. It's really a lot of fun, and it really changes the way that you see the world. Okay, a few days ago, I was sitting in my office, and this bird landed on the ledge of my window in my office about 3 feet from me. And I looked over and I thought, well, God, I think you're asking me to do a little bit of research and find out what this is. Turns out it's just a basic female sparrow bird, but at first it almost looked like a little bit of a hawk, but it's not a hawk, it's a sparrow. And there's 10,000 species of birds in the world, so which in and of itself is amazing, because God could have stopped at 5 or 10 or 100 or 1,000. He gave us 10,000 species just of birds, and what a blessing birds are. Can you imagine a world without birds? The sparrow is interesting in the sense that one of the things is that they like humans. They like to be around us, not so much because they like us, but they like our food. They're smart enough to know that where the humans are, there's probably a lot of food that's laying around, so they like to be around us. They also are very good swimmers, interestingly enough. You get them in the water, they can swim very well. And another interesting thing about the sparrow is that when they have offspring, the male and the female both will take care of the offspring, which is kind of not across the board in all of the animal life. So maybe that's a way of God saying to us men who are fathers and husbands that we need to be on the ball and take care of our kids and our wives, right? All right, this is something called a drain fly, and it was in my office. It was on the wall. I walked down the hallway, and I was like, whoa, look at that little tiny fly. And it got me curious. What is a drain fly? Well, I didn't know what it was. I had to look it up. And so this is a drain fly. They're very tiny. And as the name implies, they hang around drains and sewers. And you might think, well, they're so insignificant. But they do serve a purpose in the big picture. They hang around drains, and like nasty organic material or sewage, they will actually consume it. All right? And so they are sometimes called little plumbers because they'll do the work that otherwise you don't want to do, like clean up your pipes, right? They also can be an indication that there's a problem like sewage and mold in your pipes, and so they serve a very important feature. All right, so I was in my back garden a few days ago, and I came across this, and I thought, oh, okay, that's a yellow jacket. That's kind of cool. Predatory wasp. I've had another video where I talked about wasps and how important they are to the ecosystem and to killing other, pesty kind of bugs. But then the most interesting thing happened, because about a foot away from this, I found this. The same day, same time. They were right next to each other. And I thought, wow, that's not a wasp. That's a fly. But that fly looks just like a yellow jacket. Well, it turns out this is what's called a flower fly, and they certainly look like yellow jackets. They're very important for pollination, okay? So they serve a purpose. They don't sting, but God has equipped them with a defense mechanism to look like a yellow jacket, and so a lot of people will stay away from them. A lot of predators might stay away, so it helps to keep them alive so that they can carry out the process of pollination in our gardens. So I thought that was really neat, especially that I saw those two at the same time. This is a fascinating little creature. I saw this in my front yard. All these happen just in my everyday life. I don't go looking for these. Okay, I look in the garden, but they're all like right there in my life. This little thing looks like a little junk pile walking around. That's exactly what it is. It's called a junk bug. And it's very interesting. Here's a closer up picture of it. And what it is, they are pretty vicious little bugs. They go around in gardens and they attack other bugs that you probably don't want in your garden. And then they suck the life and all the juices out of it. And they put the carcass of the bug that they've killed on their back, and then they keep on going. All right, so as they kill other bugs, they put them on their back and they walk around. And so they are like walking morgues or walking garbage collectors. But if you ever see one of these, it's so interesting because it just looks like this little pile of fluff, which is actually dead bodies walking around. And so what purpose do they serve? Well, they help to rid our gardens of the little bugs and creatures that we don't want there. All right, so they are quite helpful, in fact. All right, this you may have seen, a little mud house on maybe one of your walls around your house or your office or something like that. And you may have wondered, what lives in there? What builds that? Well, these are called mud daubers. They're like wasps, but they normally don't attack humans, but they can sting, but they're relatively harmless to us. And so they live in there. And the important thing about them is that one of their favorite foods is black widow spiders. So if you see one of these, it probably would behoove you to just leave it alone, because especially if you have kids or you don't want to get bitten by venomous spiders, they help keep those populations under control. All right, and so this is the last one. I saw this in that same garden where I saw the yellow jacket and the flower fly. And this is called an assassin bug. And as the name implies, it can sting, and it can be, it can be painful if it hurts us. But it also is bad for, like the junk bug, the pests in our garden that we don't want there. So God provides the remedy for overpopulation of the bad bugs that we don't want. Okay, here's a closer up picture of it. Isn't that really cool? See that long kind of narrow head and the 6 legs and the antennae? Okay, again, this is my backyard. Everything I've shown you has been either at my office, within 10 feet of me, or in my front yard or my backyard. And I challenge you to do the same thing. Just pay attention. Just notice. Look in the garden. You will be amazed at the kind of things that you're going to find. And then do a little bit of research and then connect it to God. What is the purpose of these creatures, and why did God bless us with these? All right, keep coming back and watching these videos. I have a blog at awayaday.org, and also my Facebook group page that you can join is where you can actually participate. And as you find creatures, post the picture and put a little bit of information about them, and I'd love to see what you can find as well. All right, that'll do it until the next Away a Day. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Dave Palmer, and I appreciate you being part of this channel. God bless you.